I'm a little early, just a little bit. All right, so this is a fun talk. This is living in the end. What is it? What isn't it? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing right? So, living in the end, it really is a simple concept, but there has been, what do I want to say? A lot of miscommunication, a lot of confusion around what that actually means. Hey, Jen. Okay. When it comes to living in the end, okay, the first thing I want to say is if you feel as if you are, hey, Jeff, if it feels as if you're deluding yourself, you're doing it wrong. Okay? See, it's supposed to feel natural to you. It's supposed to feel real. So when you're living in the end, you want to choose scenarios that feel natural, that feel real, that feel as if they have the potential to be something that you can adhere to, okay? If it doesn't feel natural to you, this is wishful thinking, okay? I'll give you an example. I don't like football. I'll watch it, but I don't want to play football. So never, ever, ever are you going to hear me say, I'm going to wish that I'm going to live in the end, that I'm going to play in the NFL. Nothing about that feels natural to me. So that would be, first and foremost, a wishful thinking type of scenario. And again, it feels as if you're deluding yourself, you're not doing it right. Okay? That's the first and foremost thing. The second thing that's important to remember when it comes to living in the end and manifesting is the difference between positive expectancy, bridging the gap of time and space within you, and again, not deluding yourself, okay? So what I mean by that is time and space comes from you. When you want to live in the end, when you are trying to create something, the most important thing to realize is that you create time and space. They are tools. That's what's so confusing about Einstein's theory of relativity. If all time is now, then the idea that we create time and we relate to things, we measure things, these are all our tools. Same thing with space. The space is there for us to play with, but it is coming from us. That's the most important thing. So when you're trying to live in the end, you want to spend maybe tops 15 minutes, okay? And you break this up in like, I don't know, 3 increments. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before bed, maybe 5 minutes in the middle of the day if you want, something along those lines. It should not be more than 15 minutes or so unless you're enjoying what you're doing. Okay, there are some aura colors that are more equipped to imagine, can get lost in being in their head. If you are enjoying the process, stay there as long as you like. Okay, but the point is to set some time aside to bridge the gap of time and space. If you remember, the way that God made the world, okay, the way that we made the world is very simple. We retreated inward. We declare things from inside, then they appear. It's very simple. So if time and space are tools within your head, you want to use this to your advantage, all right? You want to spend no more than 15 minutes. Now, I want to explain the difference, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I want to manifest a Tesla, and currently I drive, I don't know, a Honda Accord, okay? You want to, with your sensory turned off, you want to close your eyes, you want to close your senses, you want to go inside yourself where time and space is formed. It is formed by your spirit matter. Therefore, spirit matter is what makes everything. So you want to be sure to go inward. What people don't understand is when you turn off, when you meditate, that's when your entire brain lights up. That's when you're doing something. So I know how counterproductive I sound. I know it sounds as if I'm not doing anything, I'm just imagining or whatever. But understand the value. Everything is made out of spirit matter. We enter it all the time. So in understanding that, you want to turn off your senses, set some time apart, and live in the end in those allotted time. okay? The rest of the time, what's more important, like the most important part of living in the end, what it truly means to live in the end, okay, is not the rest of the time while you're driving your Honda telling yourself it's a Tesla over and over and over and over again, okay? You have to understand, you guys, you're the only one you have to convince. So mindlessly repeating is, that's not the point. That's not the point, okay? You are learning how to bridge the gap of time and space between point A, where I don't have something, to point B, where I have something. That's what you're learning. And that is bridged and formed within you. If you understand everything, every scripture, every teacher throughout time, every ascended master, every Buddha, every Christ, every version thereof, okay? Whether it was the Egyptians that told the story, whether it was the Greeks that told the story, whatever they told you to go inward. And that's what's important. You're bridging that space, that time, and that gap. The rest of the time is about positive expectancy. This is where you demonstrate your faith and you show your mind, you mean business, by relaxing your attachment to the thing that you created in your head so that you may experience it in the world below. It's that simple. You want to experience it in the world below. So you don't want to keep it in your head, or what are you going to do? It's going to remain in your head. You're never going to enter the 3D. It's going to feel like wishful thinking. It's going to feel like all kinds of things. That's not what you're trying to do. You want to let go, okay? But you're not letting go in the sense that in the moment you're thinking, I want to drop my desire. No, you keep your desire. Your desire's of the Father. You keep that, okay? What you're dropping is the intensity in which you're holding it because you expect it to arrive, very much like when I ask my waiter for water, he's coming back for water. I don't hold on to my waiter and beg him not to leave because I'm afraid he's not going to bring me my water. You guys understand that? You don't want to behave as if your desire isn't already granted. That was the point of going within and feeling that real and living in that end, practicing that. But you want to have the positive expectancy. I want you to have the same type of faith you have when you order from Amazon. You order from Amazon, you know there are systems in place. You don't know how it works. You don't know what kind of robots do what, who does what in the warehouse. You don't know any of that, but what you do know is that your package arrives in 48 hours and sometimes even 24, especially if you're a Prime member. Right? You know that. That's how you treat your manifestation. You treat it as if it's already on the way. That is living in the end. That is the most important part of living in the end. Okay, so if you understand that, this brings you your desire, because now you're showing your mind you mean business. So the rest of the time, you go enjoy your life. Go do things. Go have fun. Do anything you want with your time, but go experience life. It's not about sitting in your room, imagining all day long and forgetting to live. That's not why we were created. That's not why we created these bodies. We're supposed to enjoy the experience, you guys. We're supposed to live. It's not about deluding ourselves forever or feeling as if we're deluding ourselves. It's more important to have that positive expectancy. That's truly what it means to be living in the end. Truly. That's demonstrating your faith. Okay? The other thing you can do to speed things along, it's very simple. 98% is spent where you're in your heart and you're imagining and you're bridging that gap and you're bringing your desire to you right now. Okay, that's 98% of the effort, and it should really only take about 5, 10, 15 minutes tops of your day, unless you happen to be the type of person that can live in their head and enjoys the experience. And stay as long as you want, but just set some time allot some time for that. Okay, the rest of the time you go live. Okay, you do realize that a watch pot never boils. That saying, meaning that if you are obsessed with your creation and when it's coming and the how and when is it going to be here. Even when you ask yourself, when is it going to be here? That's saying unconsciously, I don't believe my desire is already here. And so I am focused on the lack thereof and not on knowing it's already here. It's a very different way of existing. You declare things when you have no resistance. So when you are practicing living in the end, you are practicing losing the resistance, even if it's only for 15 minutes a day. Okay? Now, the rest of your time is spent with a positive expectancy. Like I said, like you placed your order on Amazon, you go live your life, you go enjoy, okay? I don't know if you can imagine this, but if you, for example, are desiring an SP, it doesn't have to be a Tesla, let's make it an SP. If you're desiring an SP, okay, you need to go live your life. Okay, not sit by the phone waiting, praying for their phone call. Okay, that's a needy vibe. It's not attractive. It's not cute. No one wants to be around that. I'm sorry. No one wants to be around that. So the point is you go and enjoy life. You go distract yourself with the understanding that your order that you have placed is on the way. That's the difference, okay? So that doesn't mean that you sit in your Honda all day and tell yourself it's a Tesla. If you don't believe yourself, then there's no point in doing that. That is the equivalent of mindlessly repeating affirmations over and over and over and over and over again in an attempt to hypnotize yourself into believing, right? Can you do it? Yes. Is it going to feel painful and like a lot of work? Yeah, it's way too much effort. Way too much effort. Remember that the how isn't up to you, and that God takes care of the rest, that the only thing we were told to do was to feel as if it's already ours, and then we can have it. And then we can have it. That also means we have to develop a life of our own. We still, in an SP case, we better date ourselves. We better enjoy our company. We better enjoy everything about being with us. If we confront doubt, okay, if that's what's going on, if we are confronting doubt, it's okay. This is the other part about living in the end. It's okay. If you are confronting doubt within yourself, it is okay. As long as, listen very carefully, you don't ignore the doubt. I know I just said something that doesn't sound like I just said what I said, all right? As long as you don't ignore the doubt. Why would I say that to you? Because what you resist persists. So going like this, nanny boo boo, I don't see you, is not the point. Hello? It's there for you, outside of you, for you to register it so that you can repurpose it. Okay? So you do not ignore, you acknowledge it. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to acknowledge it, and it's more than likely going to feel like a feeling inside your body. So when you are afraid, you're going to feel maybe tightness in your chest, pit and filling in your stomach. You're going to feel tightness in your shoulders. Acknowledge it and then redirect it. Redirect it with your faith, with your words. Put yourself at ease, but don't ignore the feeling, okay? The time and space gap is there to serve you while you get rid of your doubts. That's why we made it. That's why we made it. We make the gap so that when we don't dwell too long in the things that we are wishing for, or we don't dwell too long in the things that we're negatively expecting, or, you know, we give ourselves time to acknowledge that, but we also understand that time and space comes from us, and the buffer, the only reason you haven't gotten something instant, the buffer is for when you start to doubt. So you want to acknowledge those things. You don't want to live there, because obviously if you live there, that's what you get, but you have to understand the design. okay? The design. So what do I mean by that? You guys are gatekeepers. You guys are gatekeepers of your own kingdom, okay? This means whatever is inside of you is called a yes thing. A yes thing, okay? Whatever's outside of you is called a no thing, okay? A no thing, a nothing. It's just a reflection. So know that what's inside of you is more important to manage than what's out there. That's why you live in the end, you turn your sight inward, you live there for a little bit, then you let it go, and you have the positive expectancy that you've done the work. You've already placed your order. Place your order. Expect it. Okay? So the only gap is for there to serve you while you acknowledge any fears that may come up, and you simply, that's when you would use an affirmation. That's when you would use an affirmation. When it's useful, not when it's mindless. You don't want to come from the space of not having and spend hours. That's the equivalent of swimming all the way around the lake to get to the same point of origin when all you had to do was turn around. You're the one that you're trying to convince. Okay? Okay. So, as the gatekeeper, you have to remember what's outside of your eyes are the no things. Now, what do I mean by no things? No things means what you do not identify with being in the moment. It is there for you to repurpose it. Very much like Neville says, when you have the clay, the potter never asks the clay what it wants to be. We decide that. You have the power to define things. So the no things, no matter what has happened, aren't not a big deal, except for you to repurpose it so you can discover who you are and turn it into a yes thing. Okay? So all that you are doing is moving in mind to get your desire. Moving inward so that you can have whatever you want outward. Okay? So even if the outward illusion is a no thing, the purpose and the only way you discover the kingdom is by turning it into a yes thing. Once you turn it into a yes thing, then you can enjoy your experience. But once you've turned it into a yes thing, guess who discovered who they are along with their manifestation abilities? Right? You guys did. That's the purpose of the experience. Okay, so one more tip. When bridging the time gap and when living in the end, it's 98% emotional, mental, and bringing in your desire. I get that, okay? Even though it's only 15 minutes of your time tops. Okay, so a little bit of sudden time aside. Other than that, you spend the rest of the time expecting what you want, and whenever you have an inspired action feeling, something that makes probably no sense to your rational mind, but you feel compelled to do it, that's what you do. So in the case of, I don't know, I want to purchase a house, and I'm not sure how it's going to come, or I need a new apartment in the city, or whatever, okay? When I have done my job of feeling in the end and keeping my positive expectancy, the only other thing I can do is make my own bridge of incidence. I'm going to use my body as the remote control to show my mind I mean business. Okay? This is going to be manifestation tip number 12 from Cindy, okay? You use your body to show your mind you mean business. So you would do something that is in alignment with living in the end. If it's a house you want to buy, go buy some lamps. Go buy a painting. Because you're buying it to demonstrate to your mind that you mean business. So you're creating your own bridge of incidence. Okay? If it's an SP you're desiring, go buy some new makeup. If you're a woman, if you're a man, I don't know. Go get a haircut. Go buy some new clothes. Do something that's preparing for your date. Show your mind you mean business. Make your own bridge of incidence. You're the bridge. You guys are the bridge. Everything's coming from inside of you. Okay? So that's the only other thing that you do. One action step. Okay? You want to make sure that when you're living in the end that you don't do something counterproductive. Okay? You do want to acknowledge your doubts, but the other part of this is this. We have the tendency to run on autopilot. And say, for example, we're trying to manifest money. This is not the time to skimp, to pay a bill late, to hold on to things. This is not the time to do that. That's being double-minded. You don't want to do that. So you want to, again, demonstrate that you mean business. So if you're trying to manifest money, pay a bill on time. Pay a bill on time. With the type of faith that you know that your money is going to circulate back to you, because everything that we give, we get back. You never spend money, you circulate it. It always comes back. It comes back to sender. But if you don't know how it works, you're going to be worried, scared. Sorry. We're juicing, and there's peppers in the air. So I apologize. Woo! So I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. It's either peppers or gingers, and I can smell it, and I'm inhaling it, and I'm about to choke. So sorry. All right. So living in the end, positive expectancy, creating your own bridge of incidents, all of these things can be done to prove to yourself that you mean business. But at the end of the day, it's not about deluding yourself. And that was my point of this talk. It's never about deluding yourself. If you feel as if you are lying to yourself, then you're not living in the end. You are the only one you need to convince. And you must understand this above all else. You are an eternal being. You have every possibility inside of you. In fact, I was saying this to my class today. If you guys look at time, at space, okay, I understand there's furniture, I understand wherever you may be. If you look at space, what you guys see, if you use your eyes, I'm sure you can see this. There are like little tiny pixelated dots. Tiny little pixelated dots all over. If you look at the empty space, you'll see it. If you can see what I'm talking about. These tiny little pixelated dots represent all possibilities to you at once. You cannot have them because you localize your attention in one area and you're trying to bridge the gap. But all of those possibilities exist within you, and to our eyes, because they can't translate everything at once, it just looks like a bunch of little pixelated dots. See, if you understand what you're seeing from behind the mirror, you would understand that that represents the 0 point or the empty space or the field of all possibilities. And you are the holder of that. Your aura holds these things. So at the end of the day, the most important thing you will ever do is turn inward to get whatever you want from inside of you, because you're the warehouse, and then you will enter it in the experience. You develop this kind of faith, however, by putting this to the test. That's probably a next tip. If you don't put this to the test, and if you don't apply these things, you'll never prove it to yourself. It just sounds great, okay? But it's not about sounding great. I need you guys to understand how you get things. You can prove it, so then you can start telling the world, oh, I got the secret, I gotta share it with people. That's all I do, you know? I have tried every manifestation technique in the book for shits, kicks, and giggles, just to see if it worked. They all worked instantly. They all worked instantly. I had zero resistance, and so it doesn't matter. They all work, okay? So it's not about how you get things, but it's about how good does it feel to you? Can you make it feel natural? Can you do that for a little bit of your time? And the rest of the time, can you stand in your faith no matter what you see outside, knowing that whatever you've done the work? Now, what you'll notice is you're going to practice this until it feels good. When it no longer starts to feel good, when it feels like work, that's when you put it down and you drop it all together. You drop it all together because, not because you're not going to get your desire. When it feels like work, that means your brain already got the message. It's already yours. It's already yours. So that's when you want to let go. But what I want to convey, you guys, the most important part is to remember the model. As above in your head, so below in the world. As above in your head, so below in the world. This has always been the law. It's not that it doesn't work, but you have to understand how to work with it. The rest of the time is about being positive that you've already got what you got. That's another step. The next step is don't be double-minded. When you're tempted to be afraid, that's a double-minded way of thinking. Mind your behavior in that moment. Do something that goes against what your rational mind tells you to do, especially if it means making your own bridge of incidents. Okay? Especially if it means to make your own bridge of incidents. Because you guys have to learn, your body can be used as a remote control. Because it's already the projector that projects everything that you see outside. It's already that. But once you understand you're the remote control that changes things from within so that you can change things outward, that's a whole nother kind of life. This is the type of life you have behind the veil. So, again, you're living in the end. You have positive expectancy. You have not double-minded. You know that it's coming. It's not about deluding yourself. It's not about trying to do anything else. By deluding yourself, I mean if it doesn't feel natural. Remember that. If it doesn't feel natural, then it's wishful thinking. It's got to feel natural. Find things that feel good. And lastly, please remember to have fun and go live. Please remember to go have fun and go live. If you are obsessing about your desire and you are doing nothing else, that is not any fun because you're more focused on what's not there and you're going to get more of what's not there. That's law. A mirror doesn't lie, remember? It'll never lie to you. It just can't. Because it's a mirror. It's a mirror, right? So you know, you guys understand that. You never smile at the mirror and have it frown. You guys would run in the other direction, freaked out if that occurred, right? That's not natural. It doesn't go with the natural laws. So remember, the screen of time and space is simply a mirror that only shows you everything you are inside. When you understand that, then your focus is outward to look in. Outward simply to look in, to figure out if you don't know what you're thinking, this is the time to focus on those things. That's what it's about. It's about knowing time and space comes from you. It's about knowing that it's positive expectancy that's more important than living in the end and trying to not, convince yourself of what's not there. And at the end of the day, please remember you're the gatekeeper. You're the gatekeeper. You decide. It's not what's in front of your eyes. It's what's behind them that counts. Please remember this. Please, 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 please. What's in front of your eyes, if you judge it incorrectly and you forget that you're looking at your own creation, you enter karma. You're trying to get off the karmic wheel. You want to always understand that everything is you. You want to understand that you have the power to repurpose things. You want to understand that the reason that you created the obstacle and the reason that you created the desire all in the same breath, and that it's all you, was so that you can experience the very real joy of discovering who you are through using these principles and laws and discovering that you are in fact the universe that can create anything out of thin air from within yourself. Point of our existence. From within ourselves, we create something, then we enter it. We've always had this ability, but if we don't know that, then we're going to be outwardly focused, facing the wrong way. Okay? You always know when you're facing the wrong way, looking externally or lost in your story, when you feel as if it's a struggle, when you feel as if it's out of your hands, when it feels as if the world is happening to you. Clearly, if these are the things you're doing, then you're facing that way and not this way. You've forgotten that it's a mirror. So even though your eyes still look forward, remember that it's a mirror. And as a mirror, your mirror always reflects what's behind you. You look ahead to look behind you. Look ahead to look behind you. So that means you use the material experiences that you're having to repurpose them, but remember, it's just your past. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to allow these things to bog you down. It's not the end of the world if what you don't want occurs. That's another thing. It's not the end of the world. No, because you don't have to have Groundhog Day all over again. Time and space come from you. You make them. They're things that you make in your head. Use them. They're tools. Use them. All right. So I hope that clarifies living in the end. I haven't had a chance to read the comments, but if that makes sense, I'm hoping that helps with that feeling, because almost everyone asks this question: how do I live in the end? How do I live in the end? I feel like I'm lying to myself, or it's really hard when 3D is in my face. You still want to deal with 3D because 3D is your past creation, but you want to use it to understand how you're seeing. You want to use it as the mirror that helps you see inside yourself. It helps you repurpose the clay, like the potter you've always been. And you can make anything, anything. But the only reason I stand here with this kind of confidence when I tell you this is how it works, because I put it to the test. Put it to the test. If you don't put it to the test, then yeah. It's just going to sound like a great possibility. It makes sense to your rational mind. But you have to experience it. You have to put it to the test. So I hope that these tips help. I hope that this is helpful. Please remember that you are the gatekeeper. Please remember the no and the yes thing analogy. The nothing always makes perfect sense. If it's outside of you, it's already nothing. It's coming from the world without. It's coming from the world without. Remember what I said. You don't grab for the objects in the mirror. That's coming from the world without. That's why you're always turn inward, turn inward, turn inward, turn inward, turn inward, turn inward. Even though you're facing that way, realize that it is your creation. It is what you made in your head. And instead of judging it, learn to love and appreciate what is, and then know that you can create something else, because time and space and every possibility, you are carrying it within you. And you always had. But if we're facing the wrong way, you get to be right. There's nothing wrong with it. You get to be right. But you know what happens? It appears as if something was already that way and that you didn't define it. It appears as if it was like that before you even got there. You see how you're facing the wrong direction? When the truth is, if you're looking outside with your eyes, you made it with your head. And you're defining it, and the power to define it is yours. I always use the example of the caveman. I always use this example because I want to reiterate. It's the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to leave you guys for the night, all right? I'm going to use the example of the caveman because this is probably one of my favorite analogies, right? So the caveman. Let's say you would go into a dark cave and you encounter a savage. You just think he's a savage. He's growling. He looks like he's got a weapon. He looks like he wants to kill you. So your first impression, because this is the only thing you've seen from this vantage point, because it's a cave and it's dark and your eyes haven't adjusted to the dark, is this growling man, right? So your first assessment, because it's a limited point of view, is going to say, that's a savage. Makes perfect sense, right? It was there. Okay. Now, let's say that your eyes adjusted to the dark and now the cave has, you can see better, and now you understand that there's a saber-toothed tiger in their cave, and and his family standing behind him, and what he's really doing is trying to defend his family from being eaten. You didn't know that from your vantage point. Nothing changed, mind you. Your perception was able to expand once you were able to see. And now the same caveman, who has not changed, but your perception has, you have that power in everything. Sometimes it's a matter of allowing things to unfold before you declare what they are, so that you can have time to understand them, so you can give yourself time to make the clay into something that you want. The nothing doesn't change. Have you noticed? The nothing, which is the caveman, never stopped being who he was. Your perception changed. You always have that power. It's not about what's out there. It's about how you define it that counts, because that's going to determine your next moment and your past and your future and every potential. Every potential you create in all directions at once. And really what's happening is this: based on your choice, you open up a set of prerequisite possibilities that are available to you based on one choice. If you had made the opposite choice, a new set of possibilities would be available, preset. Okay? That's why it's important to understand where you're going and what else is possible, and you open the field of possibilities by the choices that you make. So literally, when you make a choice, you are quantum leaping into the reality where all those other things are possible. So understand you have that power too. Understand you have that power too. And everything is about cause and effect, which is why, this is the greatest thing ever, God put us to sleep so we could forget that we are everything, so that we can experience the consequence of our actions, so we can understand cause and effect perfectly well, being both on the receiving end of our own karma and also being the one projecting it out. Either way, all that we're doing is dealing with the mirror, and it looks like we're dealing with other people, but those people are us, and that's the only thing that is happening. But we were unconscious of it, because how else do you understand all the possibilities, cause and effect? If I do this, this happens. If I do that, that happens. That's why you were unconscious. But we're done with that. It's time to grow up. It's time to wake up. It's time to get it. We've played long enough in the playpen of 3D, and now understand you have the power to discern, to choose, and you're quantum leaping every single time. So choose wisely. Choose in alignment with your desire, not double-minded. Remember to have positive expectancy. Just do what the Bible says, you guys. The Bible told you. Just feel it real. I'll do the rest. Trust in that. Trust in that. That's the only thing we got to do. When your focus turns inward, you create a vortex. The rest of the universe lines up. All those little white dots that I told you, those little pixelated dots, they're not even just white. They're all kinds of colors, if you think about it. Yeah, I mean, I see colors. I see a bunch of colors. But you see those little pixelated dots in what appears to be empty space? All of those represent your possibilities that you're not taking. So there's no excuse for not taking advantage of the fact that you're an eternal being who can have whatever it wants, that carries all its possibilities in its aura, in the spirit matter that exists, so that because the spirit matter is actually creating all the matter outside, you have to know that you're the source light to realize that what's outside of you is your shadow or the no thing. It's such a simple design. It's so simple, you guys. That's why I always say, easiest manifestation thing ever, realization. So you know you're everything. You don't stress about anything. That's a vibe you want to capture. Okay? All right. So I hope that was helpful. Think about the things that I've said. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. You know, I welcome all questions, and I hope this helps. I hope this makes sense. You know, most people, I think you guys, my perspective is coming from behind the veil. This is why it's so easy to explain all this stuff. It just makes perfect sense to me. I just see the whole image, right? Everybody can do this, but the only way you get there is to realize that it's what's behind your eyes. You gotta see with this eye, not these. These keep you blind, looking at your mirror. That's it. All right? Love you guys. Really, really love you guys. See you soon. Bye.